our indigenous roots and international history. Lacrosse is more than a game. We play with speed, heart, and precision. Young, modern, electric, inclusive, growing across the globe. Lacrosse is everyone's sport, governed globally by World Lacrosse.
Good Stick Company is here to manufacture and produce lacrosse sticks locally here in the Czech Republic. Our mission is to make lacrosse more accessible so more kids can have access to affordable, high-quality equipment so more people can play this game and we can share this sport around the world. Our philosophy on pricing is quite simple. By removing all these different logistics and these middlemen in the manufacturing process of lacrosse sticks, we can pass those savings on to you. We can make these quality lacrosse sticks affordable for more people.
Please stand for the national anthem.
Okay, now. Yeah.
Lucas Skirnick. 23, Drew Bickerton. 24, William Baxter. 25, Thomas Hallam. 36, Matthew Tatum. 50, Tom Roper. 55, Joshua Pope. 61, Blair Pajareva. 66, William Prescott.
Good morning from Wrocław, Poland, and welcome on Lacrosse TV and World Lacrosse TV to the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship. First game of the day on Field 1, Bulgaria. In their first appearance in the European Lacrosse Championships, they take on perennial power and defending champion in Europe and perennial world power, England, in certainly a tough battle for Bulgaria. As they played their second game, they lost yesterday 19-0 at the hands of Finland, while England plays their opener. Hello and welcome. Ralph Bjornchik alongside Long Island lacrosse aficionado from New York, Thomas Dvalevsky. So happy to have you with us. Game temp temperature barely scratching 60 degrees. Fortunately, no wind, very overcast. But England is ready to go, and we are underway with the Brits in the red on white, Bulgaria in the white over green. And we'll get going with our starting lineups in a moment. TD for Bulgaria, losing 19-0 yesterday against Finland. They did not get any scrimmages in. They're hoping to improve today in all the little things against one of the giants in the sport.
Well, you know, I was thinking before the game, every team comes here with different expectations, and winning isn't always the primary goal. It's building on the program, block by block, and basically learning. So it's an honor just to be here as well.
Marcos Bocanegra is the goalie for Bulgaria. We'll go to the lineups in a moment as this shot from Daniel Hilditch is off target and blocked. And Bulgaria looking and hunting for a stop. Bulgaria was able to get some stops against Finland. They have a good face-off guy, but they struggled clearing the ball and getting settled on offense against any pressure. So that score in some ways could be slightly misleading, as there is a rip on the drive. Timothy Collins, who played collegiate lacrosse in the United States at Mount Olive in North Carolina, starts the scoring, and it's 1-0.
Well, that was a nice score. I mean, he put it right into the back corner, hard save.
Lineup for England. In goal, William Baxter. The last time that this tournament was played, he was the MVP of it. He played goalie at Division II Limestone in South Carolina. Defensively, he has University of Michigan graduate Nick DiCaprio with Grady Jackson Fail and Matthew Tatton with Thomas Hallen being the long pole midi. And off the face-off, England will scoop it up with Cameron Major, short stick D-mid. Then the attack with Daniel Watson, Drew Bickerton, and Blair Pashareva, who is a Canadian who now lives in the UK. In the first offensive midfield, great shooter Alex Russell with Timothy Collins, who we just saw, and lefty with a big shot Daniel Hilditch for England. And the Brits who will run through two midfields for head coach Sam Patterson, who takes over as head coach, as he has been involved with English lacrosse over the course of about 16 years. And he last appeared as a player in 2018 in the World Championships in Israel. England with a feed to the crease in front of goal. Feed came from 15, Daniel Watson, very nicely done. And he finds his teammate on the pipe to put that away. And we'll have a look at the replay of it as Watson is able to go backdoor to it. That looks like it's Blair Pashareva, the crease attack. Vin Pashareva with the goal to make it 2-0. And Watson with the assist. This is a clean face-off win. Now for England, for Mackenzie Moreland, who faced off at Division III Power Salisbury in Maryland. One of the two face-off guys, incidentally, both face-off guys that Sam Patterson has, perhaps first time in lacrosse history, TD, are both left-handers. Here's a shot finished. Low to high, Blair Pashareva to make it 3-0.
Well, to be going against a left-handed face-off guy, it's got to be difficult because you're not usually doing that.
Pashareva is able to step into the shot against Marcos Bocanegra. And we're going to get a whistle for an early timeout taken by head coach Darcy Powlis. Darcy was the team manager for the Haudenosaunee in 2023 in San Diego, from the well-known Powlis family, with players and cousins like the Jamesons and the other Powlises littering all over the sport on the U.S.-Canada border in upstate New York and, of course, in Ontario. So a 3-0 start for England as they make their tournament debut. And for England, and we'll show Sam Patterson at some point in TD, as lacrosse has become much more sophisticated in terms of organization, even for these international teams. Sam estimates that this English team has been together more than any other team in the past, and he hopes that'll pay off with a championship here in Poland.
Well, I mean, they're a classic team. I mean, they're always at the top of the world games and teams, and you know, they have some very talented players.
And it's a very UK-based team, but they do have a handful of players that spent time in the United States playing in college at the NCAA level, and 2 native Canadians and 1 Native American that have since moved to the UK, where they have taken jobs and jumped right into the British lacrosse system, like Nick DiCaprio.
And also on the high school level, most of their prep schools probably have lacrosse programs also. So they're one of the few that you know that have lacrosse at that level.
Seamus Pejkovsky is the face-off man, but this one won by Mackenzie Moreland again of England. So the Brits have had the ball every possession. And what you're speaking of is called BUCS. That's B-U-C-S, the British University College System. That is the version of NCAA. What, if you're an American or even someone that knows college sports at all, NCAA will certainly be familiar to you, but BUCS has exploded in terms of team participation. And Sam Patterson is the coach of one of the schools. And a finish inside, and England continuing to shoot the ball very efficiently here to start this one at 4-0.
Well, they are moving the ball around very well, which you would expect. You know, Bulgaria is hanging in there. They're doing their best, and I'm sure that they're learning, you know, basically on defense how to cover some of these, you know, experienced players.
For Bulgaria, as we go through their lineup, with goalie Marcos Bocanegra, Andrei Topchev on low D with Ivor Arhinio will be 2 of the mainstays, as a face-off win handled that time by Cameron Major again at short stick D mid. But Bulgaria got here on Tuesday, no scrimmages. They got 1 practice in on Wednesday after the opening ceremony, and they had a couple players drop off, but these are the growing pains when you're starting off at the very beginning, TD, and to try to get a team together. They had about half the team practice together in Bulgaria before departing to Poland.
Well, you know, I was reading that they recently, Bulgaria recently held a youth clinic. They had more than 100 youth players show up to play, and that's where it really starts. Is really, you know, you have to start it at the grassroots level and build it up from there. And as I said in the beginning, everyone's got different goals, and their goals, I'm positive, is to build the program.
There's the rip from Tom Roper, who played in the United States at Montclair State in northern New Jersey, on the feed from William Shirt up top to make it 5-0. Semen Pekovsky trying to stop this, but right now it's been Moreland that has been winning faceoffs cleanly. And the faceoff went actually Daniel Madeley taking that faceoff, and he wins via procedure. So England to have it again, with Bocanegra certainly using this experience to take himself to the next level. One of the attackmen on the other end, Tucker LaBelle, is the head coach at NAIA Clark University, located in Iowa. And LaBelle is one of the people that's done so much work behind the scenes to get Bulgaria lacrosse off the mat and into this position where they are participating in the European Championship. Looks like a zone look from Bulgaria. And the flip pass from Alex Russell. Throwback from Edward Loveland. And looks to be a 3-3 zone. There is no shot clock yet in an international game, but that has been voted on and will begin in 2027 tournaments. Pashareva, good movement. Feed to the crease, Pashareva. And they could not make the connection, and it'll go out of bounds, and England turns it over. And England's philosophy, talking to Sam Patterson with his offensive coordinator Mike Bartlett, they want to be a red zone team. You hear that often in football, TD. Your son was a football player. What he means, and in English lacrosse terms, red zone team means getting goals in the painted area, or the really tight painted area, their version of the red zone. And there was an example of what they were trying.
Well, if you can work the closer to the goal, it's going to make it that much harder on the defense, and especially on the goalie. Within 10 feet, and with the skill sets that these players have today, if a goalie's able to make a save, there's a little luck involved in that.
Failed clear off the turnover. Daniel Watson was able to stab the clearing attempt from Bocanegra. That was a little short. And that's the area that Bulgaria is hoping to improve today. Can they transition a little bit better with the clear and to get the ball to the offense? There's a look and a save made by Bocanegra. And Bocanegra, as Drew Bickerton, youngster, he is a second-generation English player. Dad, Andrew Bickerton, played for Scotland in 2 World Championships in '88 and '94. I'll make that actually a third generation, with one of his grandfathers, Hector, having played for England and being one of the first club coaches that existed. As Bulgaria is able to cross midfield. And now a flag is out against England.
So Bulgaria is going to get their first opportunity to bring it to the goal.
I think it was a 30-second hold called. A push with possession against England. So 6-on-5 begins with Tucker LaBelle, the president of the Bulgarian Lacrosse Association, 22 in white, Nikolay Cholikov, and Fabian Todorov. And now a flag will be coming out against Bulgaria. They're on the tackle by Semen Pekovsky. And that's a 1-minute slash. So we'll play 5-on-5 here for a period of time. Nikolay Cholikov, being the president of Bulgaria, his dream is still to start some form of a lacrosse league in the Balkans, including Greece, and to try to create numerous countries with several teams. Bulgaria is only about enough players for 1 or 2 club teams in the capital of Sofia so far. But as you mentioned, TD, they had a big showing in terms of kids that showed up to a clinic. As we have in the crease called against England.
Well, I think that just really speaks to how much lacrosse is growing across the world, and you know, the World Organization is helping to promote that, and you know, it's nice to see.
And now again, can Bulgaria come up with a clear? Bocanegra. Without the shot clock, there's also no failure to advance. And Bocanegra is going to lob it, but to nobody in particular. And it'll be another turnover. Nick Cholikov, the president of Bulgarian lacrosse, he started with lacrosse doing camps in the famed town of Radotín in the Czech Republic. And that's where he became friends eventually with the Brian Whitmer, the head coach of Czechia, who has created his own empire in the Czechs. And Brian Whitmer eventually came to Sofia to do camps for Bulgarians. And that's where lacrosse first appeared. Bocanegra shot, save made on Daniel Watson by Bocanegra. And the scramble for the loose ball. And England will keep it with 2.5 left in the first.
Well, that's one of the great things about lacrosse is that there's a lot of give back. You know, coaches and players, you know, if they're traveling or get relocated or whatever their circumstances are, they usually try to find a lacrosse community and they try to, you know, give back to them.
Daniel Watson with the assist on the Hilditch rip. Hilditch appearing for England's U21 squad in 22, where he had a good tournament playing in Limerick, and he is one of many that has come through the Stockport Lacrosse Club. And Stockport, that area in South Manchester, has become and is considered the capital or the hotbed spot of lacrosse in England, as Mackenzie Moreland wins the face-off. So just as TD, where you and I are from Long Island, there are, and that being a hotbed, there is a hotbed of lacrosse in England.
Well, you know, in the 2000, I was lucky enough to have my son play in the 2010 World Games and got to go to Manchester, and I was very impressed with the fields, the organization, just Manchester itself. It was probably a highlight of you know, just seeing my son play for all the years that I, you know, have been on the sidelines.
Bickerton will swing it. They have the cut and a finish. Goal comes on the dive from up top. That's Edward Loveland, who got the feed from the wing, Daniel Watson, to make it 7-0. And Watson with consecutive assists, so as England works on their motion offense.
Well, you're talking about being in the red zone. I think every single goal that they've gotten so far has really been a red zone goal. They're not shooting from the outside at all. They're trying to move the ball and trying to work on that red zone offense.
Mackenzie Moreland wins another face-off. The goal by Loveland. He is coming through the Timperley Lacrosse Club. Almost stepped away from lacrosse when COVID began during that difficult time period of our lives. Decided he missed it and wanted to come back, as that shot is wide from the wing. I think that was Drew Bickerton, the look. England has backup. Hilditch the shot. That's blocked. And that's the end of the first quarter. So England has won all the face-offs. England in their first game of the European Lacrosse Championships, 7-0 over Bulgaria, making their debut in an international lacrosse competition. We're coming back with more on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV. Second quarter underway. England 7-0 over Bulgaria. And able to pinch and pop is Daniel Madeley. As Madeley will carry the other way, he played at the University of Nottingham, where he was studying biochemistry. Young face-off man now up with the senior national team. And England with another possession. No shots officially against Finland yesterday for Bulgaria, and that was another thing that they're hoping to change today. They had the ball across the field once and had a man up, but squandered it. As that cross-field pass is batted down, attempted by Daniel Hilditch, recovered though by England. Cross cage it goes for a layup. And well done there, Alex Russell feeding Daniel Watson for the goal. Watson second to make it 8-0. So off of the block pass, and Russell with his eyes to the front, and certainly credit this England team for only looking for layups rather than run the score up excessively in this first game. That'll serve as yet another scrimmage for them.
Well, on the previous face-off, what I was impressed about was two of the players each gave each other a fist pump. So there's a lot of sportsmanship that's going on in this game, and and that's what lacrosse is about. You know, this is a brotherhood of just a select number of people that can, you know, one, play at this level, but even on the masters teams that I play with, you know, maybe there's 600 of us in the country that are still able to play a game that we love.
That's something head coach Sam Patterson of England talked about, particularly with their recent lacrosse experiences. They know that they are probably the most hunted team here. It's in terms of a designation, as they're off the stick fake. And Daniel Watson with consecutive goals, he's up to 3. But he stressed the point of being humble and the concept of sportsmanship, because there will be games where they might be lopsided for them. And he wanted to remind his team that we have to think about the bigger picture of where some of the other countries are relative to England as they're trying to climb the ladder and put on the so-called training wheels for this sport and their nations.
Right. Well, they have a long history of being at the top, and teams like Bulgaria and look, Poland wasn't far from there a number of years ago, and it takes work and initiative and planning to build a team, but they'll get there.
Bulgaria on the attack, they've got it. And here with Clayton Bell, just their second possession. Bell is from British Columbia, but now works in Bulgaria in the tech world. And he's one of the people that has pushed the sport of lacrosse. Pejkovsky, and here for Tucker LaBelle, one of the captains. As he looks for Clayton Bell, ball will be rescued along the end line, but out of play. Unable to save that. Tremendous defenseman we'll be watching all week. Nick DiCaprio, TD. He's wearing 0. He, while at the University of Michigan, tied an NCAA record with 8 caused turnovers in a Division I game.
Well, that's pretty impressive to be able to achieve that record.
Here's Bell on the handle, and Grady Jackson-Fale will knock it out of bounds. Jackson-Fale played out in Lake Erie University, a good Division II program.
Well, you know, one of the things probably most people don't even think about is probably every one of these Bulgarian players has a job. They give up their time and energy and just to be out on the field to practice and to play this game.
England after the turnover. Bulgaria still without an official shot. Feed over the top, and that shot is missed. So from in tight quarters, good look
nice
on
move
the
by the
backside.
goalie there.
Yeah, Bocanegra was able to make the first step to the end line, and that wastes a good pass from Alex Russell. So Andrei Topchev will try to help Bocanegra to transition. And the clear is something that Bulgaria has focused talking about. had to execute a clear against some pressure. Of course, TD, your son being a goalie, you know all about the stress of an executed clear.
Well, you know, I was in watching these games. You know, I know that, you know, my son started when he was in 6th grade, and the first thing that they did was I always try to send someone down the field for him to clear to. And the clearing's a little different in the United States than it is in the with these European teams. Is that they seem to be more methodical in bringing it down, whereas, you know, you'll see in the college games or whatever, they're trying to get transition goals, and that comes with clearing the ball.
England transitions. Inside, Bocanegra makes the save on William Shirt. Possession kept, though, by 10. Edward Loveland. After on the other end, Tucker LaBelle had the clear, but then was dispossessed. You'll hear the word D often from England. They love their group. The 4 Ds for the coaching staff and defensive coordinator Vinny Caro of delay, deny, disrupt, and dispossess is the mantra of English defense into this tournament and perhaps beyond.
Well, one of the things that you see with England that makes them so successful is that every single pass is right on stick. So the players don't have to move their sticks at all to catch a ball. It's right there. And that makes a huge difference when you can pass a ball around like that.
Blair Pastoreva on his 3rd goal. Nice find by Alex Russell, who has been on target with his passes from up top. And to make the score 10-0. Pastoreva, a classic crease man. That is a Canadian that lives now in the UK and has assimilated himself, as Coach Sam Patterson joked to me, that the guys from the handful of guys that they have that weren't born in the UK have acted a lot like, arguably even more like Brits than their own players, who have assimilated a lot into the American culture, but isn't the way that always goes.
Right. Well, the Canadians, you know, that I've seen that have come down to the United States to play on the college teams and stuff. I mean, their style of play is so different, and it's really a joy to watch them around the crease and around the goal. They just move the ball so well; it's out of their stick, and, you know, before you can even see it.
Long Pomedi Thomas Hallam comes up with a goal. William Prescott will have the assist. Prescott gets a run, and he'll factor in during this tournament in a swing spot in either attack or midfield, as he is one of a remarkable 6 lefties that England has. Sam Patterson thinks that could be the unofficial most England has ever had on a team, as we have a flag out. And it's going to be a 1-minute cross-check against England. So this will have the poll take a seat.
Well, to have 6 lefties on a team is, I mean, you're lucky if you have 2 or 1. I'm lucky enough to have 2 grandchildren who are twins. They're 8 years old. One's a lefty, one's a righty. I got high hopes for both of them.
What happened with the righty?
He's goalie.
Okay. Again, I'll ask the same question. What happened with the righty?
Right.
It's arguably an even greater advantage, TD, to grow up or to develop a lefty goalie moving forward. At least that's what every single coach seems to say.
Well, you know, it does give you a different look. You know, players aren't used to seeing a lefty goalie in the cage, I mean, he's just starting off and beginning to learn the game, but you know, he's got a lot of good coaches around him, and you know, it's something that he loves being a goalie in.
Timeout was taken by Bulgaria, their second, for head coach Darcy Paulus, here to talk about this man up, which is going to be for about 55 more seconds. So they don't want to squander this. They're still looking for their first shot. They had something that was close to a shot against Finland, but it was not counted as a shot. So this is their chance. So, of course, and the first goal that Bulgaria will score in this tournament, there will be a momentary stoppage and a brief ceremony to take the ball out of play and to hold it for safekeeping. Dmitry Ivanov slipping down behind goal, and it's taken back by England. Here's short stick D meeting the speed of Daniel Flisk. And England will transition, and they are down a man, so they might hold on to the ball here for a period with Drew Bickerton out wide. And that's exactly what he will do to take the clock under 6 minutes left, first half. England playing in their first game. There is a check put on by Ivor Argenio, and he will turn over England.
Nice play by him. He really got aggressive on the mini and was able to create that turnover.
Ivor Argenio stepping up and trailing the player Daniel Watson all the way to the midfield line on another Bulgaria turnover, and quickly will dissipate that. For England in goal, now it's Simon Bellamy who's been playing the second quarter. And Bellamy is a Canadian, but dad grew up in Nottingham. So he has heritage and now makes his living in England. We are 6-on-6, all even. England scoring 7 goals, including on the first 4 possessions. Off a skip pass, then faking the shot, William Shirt. They give it up, they look for the cutter, and they got it. Second man through. That's the cut from Daniel Hilditch on the feed from Billy Shirt to make it 12-0. So England able to run their continuity. And Hilditch with his second. And as a lefty attackman, that gives them a lot of options. Getting the feed from Billy Shirt. Shirt from the Cheadle Lacrosse Club that was established as the oldest in 1879, remarkably. And there are several that have near 100 years of lacrosse history. Timothy Collins will spin it outside for Tom Roper.
Well, it's sort of interesting that it's 100 years. I mean, most people probably who aren't involved in lacrosse, think it's such a new game, but it has a long history to it.
Yeah, and there are pockets across the area, across the world, that it has great longevity. There is Collins, Timothy Collins, with his second goal to make it 13-0. And those lacrosse clubs have long-standing tradition. Of course, they look a lot different, but you look at some of the old pictures, they also have the old wooden sticks that are very similar to the Iroquois. And unfortunately, though, technology and travel was not what it became. Otherwise, the sport could have took off quicker internationally. Perhaps had more people in North America and vice versa known that the sport was being played.
All right, you talk about the wooden sticks. If you've ever gotten hit by one, you certainly know the difference between a wooden stick and the poles that the guys are playing with today.
I have not, TD. What is it like?
It's painful.
Uh-huh.
And every once in a while, someone will show up at one of the master tournaments and they have a wooden stick, and when you get hit with it, you know it.
There is a wooden stick that Darcy Powless, of course, Darcy being a member of one of the Six Nations. He was the team manager again for the Haudenosaunee. So Darcy Powless brings that wooden stick with him and has that on the Bulgarian team bench to translate that tradition to Bulgaria to give them one of their first traditions that they hope to carry over.
Right, and there are still a few craftsmen that make the wooden sticks, and if you've ever seen a video of how they do it and what it takes to do it, I mean, it's really very interesting, and it's really an art.
William Shirt on the goal. Make it 14-0. England, after a long passing sequence, got as high of a percentage look that they hoped for with Prescott getting the assist. And Will Shirt is in the boat for England as one of 3 to 4 true two-way midfielders that they trust. That's going to be a short stick D-midi, but can play offense too.
Well, I'm sure by this time too, with the not a lot of depth on the Bulgarian sideline, that these guys are giving 100% out here, and they're probably looking forward to getting a little breather and regrouping at the half.
Drew Bickerton will come up with a goal with a flag out on the feed from Blair Pashareva. And a flag, I think, see if that was picked up or not. I think it is a 1-minute cross-check against number 21, Philip Donov. So I think Donov is going to have a seat, so we will see if we'll have a 6-on-5. No, Donov is just being stretched over by the box. So we have 6-on-6. Daniel Madeley. Lead face-off win. England has won every face-off. As there's a knockdown pass by Julian Bakalov. Bakalov is a club lacrosse player for Bulgaria at LSU. And the LSU, where there is club lacrosse at all the big football and basketball schools. There's a rip from the wing. Bickerton. Consecutive goals for Bickerton with a right-hand snipe to make it 16-0. And more wing shots as he got the feed from Tom Roper. So the Bickertons being 3 generations of players. And the Bickertons, he and his older brother Elliot, who got a chance to play together at the U21s in Limerick in 22. They've played for the Mellor Lacrosse Club. And Drew has been playing lacrosse since the age of 5. And he is in this first generation of players that have picked up a stick when they were children. That's it for the second quarter. 16-0 England at the break. We'll take a pause for 10 minutes and be back with the third quarter, all England against Bulgaria on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV.
Commercial break! We've been really busy over the past 2 years developing our very own women's lacrosse stick.
We are really, really proud of it. So stop by the shop. We would love to tell you more about it.
Good Stick Co. Come get a stick. Good Stick Company is here to manufacture and produce lacrosse sticks locally here in the Czech Republic. Our mission is to make lacrosse more accessible so more kids can have access to affordable, high-quality equipment so more people can play this game and we can share this sport around the world. Our philosophy on pricing is quite simple. By removing all these different logistics and these middlemen in the manufacturing process of lacrosse sticks, we can pass those savings on to you. We can make these quality lacrosse sticks affordable for more people.
We honor our indigenous roots and international history. Lacrosse is more than a game. We play with speed, heart, and precision. Young, modern, electric, inclusive. Growing across the globe. Lacrosse is everyone's sport. Governed globally by World Lacrosse.
not shooting from the outside or anything.
And welcome back for the start of the third quarter. Ralph Bjornchik alongside Thomas Vilevsky and our producer and director up just above us. And Bartek Pachitsky doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for being here. You're watching Bulgaria, just their second game of international competition, take on perennial world power England, who's always in the blue division and competing with the likes of the Haudenosaunee/Iroquois, Canada, U.S., etc. England playing in their first game, and the score indicative of the separation between the two. This is a Group B game, and at 16-0 with England having won every face-off. And Bulgaria trying to make incremental steps forward with each passing quarter. Still looking for their first shot and face-off win against an opponent like this. They lost to Finland yesterday 19-0, but did win some face-offs and got some stops, and almost had their first official shot. England prevents and over and back.
Well, you know, what's interesting is Bulgaria knew coming into this game that, you know, was going to probably be lopsided, but, you know, they're going to get something out of this. They're you know, to be on this stage and playing this team is, you know, something that they probably would not have gotten an opportunity to do if there weren't some shuffling around of the schedules.
Yeah, certainly. And in this tournament, there is no power group the way other tournaments have typically will have in the past, where you have a blue division of some sorts, as Bulgaria turns it over after getting the save on Tom Roper from their lone goalie Marcos Bocanegra. Swung in front, Hilditch. Then the ball redirected to Hilditch. Hilditch back in front, and Bocanegra comes up with
Very
two
nice
saves
save
on the possession. So he shows he's able to move pipe to cover the short side and then get over to the other pipe. But this has been the area for Bulgaria that they're aiming to make the biggest jump in today, and that's to clear. Seaman Pejkovsky also doubles as their face-off guy, is blitzed and smothered, and England will turn him over. So England will have it again for another elaborate possession. Daniel Hilditch outside. Blair Pashareva. Pashareva already with 3 goals. England with production up and down the lineup. And not one player has had overwhelming statistics to this point. They're able to finish. Daniel Hilditch able to step into that shot. And England showing that they can move the ball quickly.
All right, so as you were saying earlier in the first half, they're working on their red zone passing and shooting, and they continue to do that in the second half here.
And about that offense, the unselfishness and the hockey assist is something that England coach Sam Patterson believes that this team buys into. With all the time that they've spent together, they have been together training for this tournament since the spring of 2024. They had a pretty good idea of what the roster would be. Mackenzie Moreland is able to come up with a face-off and fresh ideas from the coaching staff with Sam Patterson, who just finished up his playing career in 2018, taking command. And to try to build culture, and also with the Great Britain indoor lacrosse team. And there's a failed pass by Hilditch.
You haven't seen many mistakes like that, but I was just going to say the England's out there. They're passing with purpose, and pretty much they know where everyone's going to be, and that comes with just, as you said, they've been practicing a lot, and that comes with all the practice that they've been doing.
Tucker LaBelle failed clear. And quickly Blair Pashareva. Hilditch gives it up for one more and a layup. Hilditch will get the assist, and Drew Bickerton will add another. Bickerton is now up to 3 for the game. And Hilditch unselfishly gives it up. And 18-0.
Well, I would have to think that England is going to start, putting a lot of other players out on the field and, let them get out there as well. And unfortunately, Bulgaria has a limited sideline. And again, give these guys a lot of credit. They're out there, they're playing, they're giving 100%, they're trying everything.
Another clean face-off win from Daniel Madeley, and he's been able to guide the ball in whatever direction that he has wanted to. Light rain has begun over the last half hour, 45 minutes here in Wrocław, Poland.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the field holds up with the rain. The other day when it was a little wet, there were a lot of people who were slipping. You may for either this game or even the next game that's on this field, you may have to go with a different type of footwear.
And the other element for these teams, the two other fields here in Wrocław are grass fields. Bocanegra is able to make the save on Blair Pashareva, who cut across and tried to shoot to the off-stick side, and Bocanegra is able to get his stick there. So from that perspective, you're definitely going to have two sets of cleats, I would believe, TD. Maybe not your time, but in this era, they have multiple cleats.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to afford one pair of shoes.
Okay. There's a knockdown, and we have a whistle, and a flag is down, and it appears this will be a 30-second hold coming against England. So something in the redefend, and the ride of England will have them going in the box for the third time. That's going to be Bickerton. That's going to serve. That's actually, I think it was an offsides. And here's a timeout taken by Bulgaria to again talk about this man up.
Well, besides the footwear, the sticks, the heads get wet, and the nylon strings generally sag a little, and it makes you have to adjust to playing in wet weather. Passing becomes a little more difficult. You may see that in this game.
Bulgaria, to talk over this timeout, they took one in the second quarter on another man up, but immediately turned it over. So they're trying to get organized ahead of this possession to try to take a baby step forward and get their first official shot on goal in an international contest. And in goal for England, with the starter not having to face the shot at William Baxter, it's Simon Bellamy who is itching to get a look. The goalies want to at least get some action in a first real game. England did get here and scrimmaged Poland. Getting here was a competitive game, 8-4. England winning that one. That game taking place that was on Tuesday, and then also before England departed London to come here to Poland, I think that was on Friday or so. Within the last week, they scrimmaged their under-21 squad in a full regulation game as another full tune-up in preparation of this championship pursuit.
Well, I can tell you, as having a son as a goalie, every goalie wants to be in the goal. That's what they live for.
There's a first shot on goal. I think it was probably intended to be a pass by Tucker LaBelle. However, it may have deflected in towards goal, and Simon Bellamy was forced to make the save on a bouncer. So Bulgaria has made at least a form of history, a shot whether intentional or unintentional. England able to execute their first clear of the game with under 7 minutes left in the third. And that was a man-up opportunity for Bulgaria. We are now all even. Feed across, Hilditch. William Prescott, lefty to lefty, able to find one another on the cut.
Goal by number 9.
Well,
England
they
has
continue to find the open guy in the crease, and you know, that tic-tac-toe goal is what they're doing.
Hilditch up to 4. Prescott adds his second assist. And a very high percentage of the England goals today. Out of 19, I've got an assist. Quick look at everything I've written down, TD. I think they have an assist on 15 of their goals today, which is any coach's dream.
Right, absolutely.
Daniel Madeley, clean face-off win to himself. Over there on the England bench, you might notice if you walk by here, there is a jersey over there. A blank uniform for England, white jersey with number 31 on it. And that is in honor of a player by the name of Colin Clive. Colin Clive, unfortunately, died of brain cancer very recently, terrible family tragedy. Feet in front came for the goal. And that's a finish for William Schurz on the find from Alex Russell. Look, Clive played at Siena. His dad was a Brit, but he was a member of the 2012 European Lacrosse Championship team and 2014 Worlds in Denver. He unfortunately passed away, and that the Headstrong Foundation that TD, I'm sure you're very aware of,
Yes.
has also been very aware of the Colin Clive story, where he unfortunately lost both of his parents to illness, and then later Colin Clive left our world due to brain cancer, and England's thoughts are with him on the bench during this tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a motivator too for them. I mean, it's what a terrible situation, and you know, having to. Luckily, I've never had to experience that type of thing, but I mean, it you know, the players are out there today thinking about him.
And mentioning the aspect of humbleness of what Sam Patterson has been trying to relay to his team, that England, they have to be an ambassador for all these other teams. Nice find in front, no look feed, William Prescott again. As Prescott 66 with the pass here on the right wing. And nice movement there by Alex Russell. As England has hit 21.
Well, overall, though, there have been a number of players from England who have been scoring, and when you have players on the entire team that can score middies or attackmen, I mean, you're not depending on just one player.
Here's a caused turnover by Julian Bakalov. Bakalov now looking for an outlet, and Bakalov will find one. He got it to Clayton Bell. However, Bulgaria did not see the attackman running onto the field, or the midfielder did not see the next pass to him. And the next phase of the offense, once you clear the ball, that Bulgaria just doesn't have enough experience with. And that's something that they'll have a chance to grow in teams that are not as powerful as England. This is a very difficult game two to play, of course, as we've stated the obvious for Bulgaria.
Well, you know, ball control and ball turnovers are key to the game, and it's going to be something that they'll build on.
Hilditch locates the cutter. There is Schurz. William Schurz now with his third. And Hilditch, well-timed pass here to locate the cutter, coming up from that red zone area into the high crease.
Right, and you'll notice that all of the shots are very well placed in the goal. They're not just, they're selecting where they're going to put the ball, and, you know, basically shooting off stick on the goalie, and so the ball placement is excellent on their part.
And Daniel Madeley wins a clean face-off. Under 2 minutes of the third. 7-0 after one, 16 at the break. And England has reached the 20s. And this is now the most goals any team has scored so far at these men's European Lacrosse Championships in Wrocław, Poland. We'll be bringing you nearly 100 games here on Lax TV with World Lacrosse TV. And the top 7 teams will qualify for the 2027 World Championships that'll take place in Japan. There on the cut, William Prescott was expecting the pass, perhaps in a different pocket. Edward Loveland was trying to throw it to him, but the timing a little off.
Very few mistakes, but you just saw one there.
Top 7 out of 24 teams here will qualify. And then the next ones, 8 through 21, will qualify for what is being termed as the Division II tournament for the teams that don't make the World Championships, which is only 16, as a turnover failed clear for Bulgaria. And the Division II tournament giving programs like Bulgaria something to shoot for and a chance to get more games in and more exposure to the sport and continue to make incremental strides forward. As there is a skip pass and there was no one there. So with a look over the top, and England with a couple of uncharacteristic errors. William Prescott was expecting someone on the far wing. Now Bulgaria with Dimitar Ivanov. And Ivanov trying to bull his way through. He needs an outlet. And that'll be the end of the third quarter. So Ivanov just trying to run the clock out and does. England 22-0. We'll be back for the final 15 minutes in Wrocław, Poland. Start of the fourth quarter at 22-0. And the face-off win by Daniel Madeley. This time he directs it to his wingman in Daniel Flisk. England would love to get out of here. Goes without saying, Tom Zalewski, get out of here without injury because of the attrition that these tournaments can take can take hold on teams. The Brits do have a full 22-man roster, and the same for Bulgaria. Bulgaria does not have a full 22-man. I think they have 18. And they only have one goalie, for example, one real face-off guy, so they will be a little bit more vulnerable, particularly in specialist positions where you really can't afford to lose those guys.
Well, I'm sure everyone on Team England is going to see the field today. I mean, everyone's going to be there. With the Bulgarians, with their limited roster, it's going to be a little more difficult. But, here's one of the huge positives is Bulgaria is playing on the #1 field right now. They're getting a lot of exposure. And we were talking about the heritage teams and how they're building and feeding into the world teams. There's going to be a lot of people of that heritage who are going to be looking at this game saying, hey, maybe I can get a position on the national team.
Nice curl cut. Tom Roper got the pass from the wing. And England has been very effective with multiple passes and then simply cutting through. Blair Pashareva will get the assist on the Roper goal to start the fourth quarter scoring. And just by being here, and again, it's starting a team. That way you can start to recruit perhaps players from other countries that have more lacrosse experience.
Absolutely.
Just the way other nations have, because they need to provide the training wheels and the guidance
It's got to start somewhere. And they've got it organized. They have a youth program going. They got a lot of building blocks that they can put together just from being here and just from the exposure of being here. So, there's a silver lining in being on this field and playing England.
And also the opportunity to network with other coaches and for these players to watch other games in person. That's another aspect. If I have a chance this week to ask some of the Bulgarian players, have they ever seen lacrosse, or how many of them have seen lacrosse live in person? Certainly not all of them, but it might be only a handful of them that have seen it, certainly for the Bulgarian natives that play in Sofia in games that they're playing, but they haven't seen some higher-end games in person. Pejkovsky was trying to come up with a clear, and flags coming out. And I think we're going to get a slash against England. Nope, it's a cross-check. And heading off for 1 minute will be William Shirt. So head coach Darcy Palace does have one timeout remaining to talk about a man up. And he might save it further. But here is a chance. Here is a shot that goes wide. That is shot number 2 for the Bulgarians.
That was a good, strong shot.
And the rip came from the wing from Tucker LaBelle. Clayton Bell outside. There's another look, and that shot is blocked. And you see LaBelle is upset, but they don't have backup here on this man up. And one of the small details of this sport, to be in position to get back up.
That's a key element of the game, is to have someone behind the net who basically, if the shot goes outside the goal area, you got someone that can get right to the end line.
This is man down for England. And now we're all even. Sherp's 1 minute cross check has expired. And the flip pass here to William Prescott. Now the shot from the wing is blocked. Daniel Hildish, the shooter, as it spins off in the vicinity of Bocanegra. Dimitar Velev took the punishment on blocking the shot. Loose ball picked up by England. One of the people England coach Sam Patterson gives a lot of credit to for his lacrosse upbringing, mentioning how it is important to network with coaches from places that have the sport established. And of course, we're mainly talking about the United States, not just the U.S. Save made by Bocanegra on Tom Roper.
Nice save. He got right on top of that ball.
One of the coaches that gets great credit is Hofstra University's coach Seth Tierney, who is now the head coach of the U.S. men's national team. Once a year, Sam Patterson goes over to the United States and, in effect, does a sabbatical, sits in during an off-season, usually in the fall, sits in on a college team's practices, coaching sessions. He sat with John Galloway, now the Jacksonville coach, former tremendous goalie at Syracuse. There's a rip. Alex Russell able to crow hop right into the top of the crease for the goal. 24-0. And Russell is able to shoot with no slide to come. And Russell has his second of the game. Sam Patterson has yet to meet Bill Tierney, though. However, TD, I told him he would definitely remember a meeting with Bill Tierney whenever it happens.
Yeah,
Seth Tierney might be a little bit nicer in terms of, or less hot under the collar compared to Billy, huh?
Well, I mean, his resume speaks for himself.
Exactly.
So he's sort of like the Bobby Knight of lacrosse.
Yeah, it would certainly be a different experience for Sam Patterson once he had a chance to meet Seth Tierney's uncle Bill, who is retired from coaching at Denver, but still very much remains an iconic figure and ambassador to the college lacrosse world and the entire lacrosse world for all the coaches he has mentored. Nice find. Edward Loveland locates Alex Russell, and Russell consecutive goals to make it 25.
Well, I think he's on the sideline for the PLL, right?
Yes, he is on the sideline for one of the teams. But he spends about a week learning, and he particularly takes a lot out of the tactics. Even I thought was fascinating, TD, from watching Division II and Division III games that are maybe less athletic driven and more tactical driven. And we were talking about some of the great Division II, Division III programs that exist, and some of the great long-standing D2, D3 coaches that maybe are unknown to most lacrosse fans.
You know, I really think at this time that the Division II and 3 programs, there are some players there. I mean, it's just because you're playing Division II or 3, not 1, doesn't mean that you're not a great player. I've seen a lot of great players come out of those programs, and my son started off in Division I. He actually did a 5th year at Limestone. It's sort of sad to see that program go sideways.
Yep, unfortunately, Limestone, which is the goalie William Baxter's alma mater. He played 2 years there after coming over from Manchester Metropolitan. William Baxter, the starting goalie today for England and the likely starter for this tournament. But Bellamy has been pushing him. Limestone announcing in May that they will be closing their doors and eliminating the lacrosse world of a dominant Division II program with a lot of talents, both domestic and from the Southeast and Canada. Is a nice takeaway by Julian Bakalov. And Bakalov is now looking for an outlet. He is stripped, and down the seat of his pants, Daniel Hilditch somehow finds a ground ball. But that is tough news when that came down to any time you lose a program, particularly in areas like Limestone, South Carolina, where the sport is growing. Just as the same thing, Tom, like to lose Furman and what Richie Meade was establishing there once COVID began.
Right. Well, going to, I went to every single game that my son ever played. And the Limestone games where I love watching those games because they had 4 or 5 Canadians that were on the team, and they were such a pleasure to watch.
Shot by William Prescott goes wide. And you'll see ex-Limestone players littered all over NCAA rosters because of the transfer portal, and some will also make their way into these international team rosters in the future.
And a number of them are on the pros.
England, after this one, they will take on the Netherlands. That'll be tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow afternoon, so they'll get a little more than 24 hours to rest. They've got the Netherlands, then Latvia, and then Finland. In this group, they have the target on their backs. If there was such a thing as a preseason or a pre-tournament favorite, it would be this English side, as there is a deflected pass by Bakalov again.
I think the Netherlands will come out tomorrow with fire in their souls. They're gonna really be out there, I think, pushing the envelope.
Yeah, certainly the Netherlands being thumped yesterday 14-4 at the hands of Latvia in one of the surprise scores from yesterday's first full day of action. And a shot comes as they play catch. Tom Roper with the left hand was able to gear up the hands, and he got the pass from Alex Russell to get to 26.
You know, regardless of the score, you watch the Bulgarian players. Not one of them is dipping their head down. They don't look disheartened at all. They're out there to play, and it goes to show you what heart they have.
It is a continuous clock, regardless of score. There is no mercy rule in the international game. Clock will stop with under 30 seconds during each quarter, as there is some grunt work done by short stick D-meaty Cameron Major of England. And then it'll stop in the fourth quarter on any whistle with under 2 minutes remaining. And then England a couple of minutes away from getting off their feet and then thinking about what should be an extremely inspired Netherlands team that's similar to England, that has spent a ton of time together, more than any other team in Dutch history. But the bar has been set extremely high among these nations, and now they understand it's not just about bringing over Americans to fill in. To truly sustain something, you need to play together. Nice clean takeaway by Edward Loveland, able to steal the clear.
Well, I can guarantee you that there probably right now are 30 to 50 people who of Bulgarian heritage who are lacrosse players who are watching this saying, you know, I want to be a part of this.
And they want to assist and help in this. And Bulgaria making an initial step, and the commitment that the vast majority of these players that were able to make. They had some jitters against Finland in particular yesterday in the first half, and that first time together. Also, when you're playing with highly esteemed officials, so there are penalties that get called that maybe you get away with when you're playing in the couple of club games that the native Bulgarians play, and also the U.S. club players that aren't exactly playing with NCAA officials either from the States.
Right. Well, as we were saying earlier, you know, I would venture to guess that most of these Bulgarian players, and a lot of players that, you know, that are at this tournament have jobs or whatever. They're giving up all that time to be here to play. It's quite a commitment.
England will run out the clock and will settle for 26 goals. Bulgaria will have to search for their first goal on another day, but they do get credited with 2 shots for the very first shots in their nation's history in any international competition. Bulgaria will take on the Netherlands coming up on Sunday the 13th, and then Latvia on the 14th in their final 2 pool play games. It is a final score here on the first game this morning on the second full day of action in Group A. England shuts out Bulgaria by a 26-0 final. That'll do it for our entire crew. Thank you for watching. Thank you, England, for your sportsmanship, and for Bulgaria for continuing to play hard as they look to make their incremental steps forward as a nation, as a first-timer on the world stage. That'll do it for Thomas Dvalevsky. My name is Ralph Bnorchik. For our producer and director, Bartek Petritsky, we say so long and goodbye. You've been watching the 2025 Men's European Lacrosse Championship on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV.
I'm here with William Baxter after the England versus Bulgaria game, where you guys had a shutout. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's always good not to concede any goals, and it's a good statement to start the tournament.
And you guys are kind of like the leaders in the lacrosse world, essentially. How do you think that impacts your game?
Our game, we don't like to view it as that. We like to have an underdog mentality. We have to fight for everything. You know, every team is trying to get what we have and currently own, so we just fight with an underdog mentality and take it step by step.
And you got a jersey with you right now.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so this is dedicated to Colin Clive, who is an England alumni, played in the Europeans in 2012 and 2014 World Cup. He was a teammate of my brother's. I've met him a couple of times, but he sadly passed away a few years ago with a battle with a brain tumour. So we like to honour him this tournament, and I've also got on the back of my helmet, we've also got a sticker for Colin for the Head Foundation, and also Ant Hayes, who was a former teammate of mine, a former goalie who sadly lost his life as well. So we like to honour those that have been in the jersey before and have sadly lost their battles.
So the wins are for them?
Wins are for them, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm here with Galene from Bulgaria after the game on the sidelines. And you guys are a new program, so you're building. So what do you expect the future to be like for Bulgaria?
So I hope so that we're building program with the kids at the moment. We try to find a lot of new people and new kids, so this is the future. And now I have a lot of demonstration in the last few months in the schools. So we're hoping that in the fall we'll start to making a kids league, and youth lacrosse will continue to grow. So we are pretty new, but it's actually more than 15 years. It's 18 years lacrosse in Bulgaria actually, and we try to grow the game and do everything that we can. So it's our first time here. We are really proud about the opportunity to be here, and we continue.
Yeah, you guys are on the main field right now. You just got to play England. It's great exposure for you guys, so should be good for your program.
Yeah, it is really good. It's a pretty good experience to play against such a good team. They're champion of Europe and they're in top 6 in the world probably, or top 4, I don't know. But it's a really good experience to play with a team like England.
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you. Good luck.